Hey everyone, my name is Jack. Welcome back to the channel. I cover a variety of topics as they relate to real estate, investing, personal finance, and all that sort of stuff. So if you like that sort of content, be sure to have a look around the channel. And if you like what you see, be sure to subscribe. Today I want to talk about some big news in the retail space, and that's that Microsoft is permanently closing the vast majority of its stores. Only 4 will remain out of the current 116 stores that they have open worldwide. They'll be switching to entirely online for sales and will not have any retail stores to actually sell any of their products. Now, Microsoft had their stores closed already for the pandemic and all the things associated with that, just as many other retail stores have done. However, they have finally gone ahead and made the decision to permanently close those stores rather than try to reopen them and try to get the ball rolling again on retail. From a shareholder perspective, they'll be charging $450 million in expenses in relation to closing down all of these stores, so it will negatively affect their income statement because of that, but they'll get a nice hefty tax write-off with it. Now, Microsoft claims that all the employees in those stores are not going to be fired and they're going to be transferred to work remotely in sales roles, though that seems kind of hard to believe that really every single retail staff person is going to come on to work entirely remotely. Well, maybe they've already fired anyone who they weren't going to bring along anyways, and they're saying that they're not going to fire any more people, because I can't imagine that you'd bring your new associate who's just trying to sell Microsoft products, or even like the floor janitor of sorts. I don't know why you would want to bring them on to work remotely if there's no physical store, but that's just me. I don't know how exactly they're going to be doing this with all of the staff there, but allegedly no extra jobs will be lost with these closures. Now, that might be the case for Microsoft, but it's not necessarily the case for the rest of retail, which is had a very hard time getting through this crisis already, and it's only been a couple of months. Retail as an industry was already battling the rise of e-commerce that has really hurt a lot of brick and mortar sales, especially when it comes to smaller stores that rely totally on foot traffic. When you don't have that foot traffic, you're not going to be able to drive revenue unless you have a solid online presence already. And then what's the point of having a store if you can make a lot of money online and not have all of that overhead with a store? That's what a lot of brands, including Microsoft now, that's their approach to things. Meanwhile, you have other stores like Gap who've struggled to pay rent or have just flat out refused to pay rent, whether they could or not, just to try and conserve cash because they know this is going to be very tough navigating this crisis. I've covered Gap on my channel before and how Simon Property Group, the mall REIT that's their landlord for a lot of their stores, is suing them for many millions of dollars. So you got a lot of negative trends in the retail space, not just with Microsoft closing stores, but a lot of firms filing bankruptcy that have a heavy retail presence. That is not a good thing for the economy. That's because retail is such a big employer for so many millions of Americans, or at least was the biggest employer. I'm not sure what the numbers would be now. Probably still is pretty large. So as retail jobs go away, you're losing those jobs. And they're relatively unskilled jobs for the most part. Retail, low-wage worker jobs, those are very important because it's not as though you're going to take some unskilled worker and move them into a tech job right away, or something where you can work remotely really quickly. That's not that easy to do if you don't already have some good skills. And retail often is a starting spot for people who are just starting out in the workforce, or maybe don't have a super high-powered education, or they're just looking to make some money because not everyone starts out with money. And when you can just do a quick job in retail to actually start making some money and get your feet under you, and then use that money to go pursue some more education or something like that, it's a big engine for a lot of spending and growth for careers throughout the country. And now that engine is really starting to falter, and it's showing a lot of wear and tear, and that's not good for all of those low-skilled workers who rely on those jobs and maybe won't be able to just make the leap up to a skilled job that has more access to working remotely and doesn't need a brick and mortar store to actually have it make sense. That's why you see a lot of malls like Simon Property Group, like I mentioned, really focusing on this sort of lifestyle approach where they try to include a lot more restaurants and a lot more experiential environments to try and draw people in, rather than just having big box store next to big box store next to little box store, just trying to draw people in that way just by having goods there, because you can order everything on Amazon now or whatever retailer of choice you use online, because that's really the way of the future, it seems. The way of the future is you buy all your stuff online, but what malls are trying to do, or at least some malls and some shopping centers, they're trying to get ahead of the curve, and rather than just watch all of their sales dwindle, they're trying to switch to encourage more lifestyle type experiences. Because when you do that, you actually have something to offer that's not just having slightly marked up products because you have to pay for the overhead costs of the store. If you have an experienced offer as well, then all of a sudden it becomes much more attractive to go there. And that's actually what Microsoft's doing with 4 of their remaining 116 stores, of which 112 of them they'll be closing permanently. They're actually keeping 4 as experiential type stores where people can come in, I guess, try things out. I'm sure they'll do product showcases and that sort of thing. So they're actually keeping 4 stores just for that, which is probably just more for a marketing thing. But they are keeping those, and that's probably where retail is heading. It's heading more towards that experiential style product rather than just one of pure shopping. But in the meantime, you're definitely going to have a lot of short-term growing pains because there are a lot of people who rely on retail not only for their own businesses and selling products to stores, but also the people who work at those stores. They rely on retail heavily as well. And when it starts to contract like it is right now, it sends a lot of pain throughout the economy because so many people rely on it. And not to mention with retail, that is a lot of real estate space that needs to be rented. And you have landlords who rely on that rental income as well. And mortgage holders who rely on that income from the landlord as well. So you have a very interconnected way that retail interacts with the economy. It's not as though it's just consumer to retail worker and then back to those retail workers who then spend money. It's a much deeper system than that. It's a big part of the real estate industry with a lot of money going into it and a lot of money going out of it as well. So when you cut off the inflow or outflow, you get problems. The quicker that retail can adjust to meet new consumer demands and tastes, the quicker you can get this engine going again and hopefully hire some more people and really get money circulating again through the economy. But of course, before any of that can happen, we got to get through this pandemic and get through all of the closures that governments have forced on businesses because of this pandemic, obviously trying to keep people safe. So the quicker we can get through that, hopefully the quicker we can get this engine going again, but it's probably going to take quite a while since it came to a screeching halt because of the pandemic. And it came to such a screeching halt that even giant firms like Microsoft don't think it's worth it to even try to reopen and are just deciding to call it quits while they are already closed. We'll see where retail is a few years from now. It'll be very interesting to see what kind of changes are made, what firms actually make it through and the adjustments that they'll make. There's going to be a lot of movement in this sector because there is a lot of risk right now for those who don't move. So it's going to encourage a lot of changes to be made and hopefully some very positive changes that the market will actually support and hopefully will give people better experiences because of it. Unless, of course, the government just bails them all out and then all of the trends that were going in the negative would suddenly be propped back up and we just delay the inevitable even more. That's why it'll be interesting to see where retail heads over the coming years because it's such an important engine to the economy. Well, anyways, that's all I've got for today. If you like this video, please like it since it helps the channel out a lot. What do you think about this retail trend? Where do you see retail going? What adjustments do you think firms need to make, if any? And how do you think they can navigate this crisis? Do you think Microsoft made the right call here? I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. And just a reminder to check out the link in the description about my new book, The One Property Retirement, about a simple strategy for building your retirement nest egg. I'm almost finished with the final draft. I just need your feedback. So if you want to be part of that team to where you can get a free copy of the book, definitely check out the link in the description below. That will have a link to go to my private early readers Facebook group where you can actually participate in helping me out with the final draft. But until next time, take care.